Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Tuesday, it's June 30th. This will be our chart lesson for today. Um, Man, I picked a good week to come back. The volatility has been exceptional, and volatility can be scary, but at the same time, it provides some really good trading because you get some great trends. And in the end, this is just a big range day. You got your lows down here around 2048 and your highs up here around 2066 to 2068. And it's just a big range. But there's a great trend up, a great trend down with some minor trends in between, and then another great trend up, and then another good trend down. And they're very easy to spot trends, very easy to read. Uh, I noticed right before the close, we started selling off real hard again. Looks like we bounced a little bit down here around 2051, which was coincidentally the close for yesterday. That's what that black dotted line is, and look how prices were affected by that today. And you can see that's where prices closed yesterday. So that's why I have those lines on there. And I really like to watch today's open, high, lows, and closes as well because they become important. And but I take them off before I do the chart lesson because it just makes it keeps the chart from being too cluttered and muddied up and so forth. So, but a really great trading day. I'm glad that I didn't go on vacation this week because I would have missed some really good trading. And these are the kind of days we like to see. I hate that. And today's not as bad because it's more of a kind of a, I guess we're going to end up probably down before the day's over. Well, maybe not, but because we're above yesterday's close. So we might end up slightly today. But even though there's a lot of selling today, it ends up being just kind of a non, there's not going to be much change in the market. We're not going any lower. We might be, in fact, we're going to close just slightly higher. And you read the headlines, the public follows the Dow. And as traders, we're more interested in the S&P. It tells the real story. The Dow is the public's, kind of market that they write all the news about and so forth. And if you read the news this morning, which I usually don't see the news, but somebody pointed it out to me, having coffee before I came into trade, and they said, "Oh, the biggest sell off this year," and it was like a 2% sell off, and uh, but we've had a lot. And of course, it was a big down day yesterday, but it's not until you get multiple days like that, it's not the doom and gloom that they like to make it out to be. And what they say doesn't matter because they make the news up to fit the price action. So that's one thing I've learned as I've become more experienced at this and really learned what the markets are doing. You'll see that they write the news to fit the price action for the day. So they don't have any idea what it's going to do tomorrow or the next day. And, so the news is really irrelevant. So uh, I usually don't even read it anymore. I used to, couldn't wait to get up and see the news every morning and before I traded. And uh, it just is so confusing that you don't get anything decent out of it. You're better off just ignore it and follow the price action. So that's my plan of action anyway. But anyway, rather than me sit here and dilly-dally about all that, let's talk about the trades. But we had a nice trend up, and notice this. You had to break right here, and you had two legs up to a new high, so then you expect a sell-off. Um, but this was all before 7 o'clock, so I'm looking for a good sell-off up in here. There's actually a short right here uh, that I should have marked that's not marked. Here. You want to enter this trade. Let me move that real quick. But it went higher first and then turns and goes out the bottom. And notice we already had the break. Two measured legs. Look, there's one leg, a correction, second leg, and then there's a. If I'd been here, I would have taken this. There's a failed second entry long right there that reverses and goes down. Look at that. Uh, you would have had your stop right below that and a quick, easy trade, but then it bounces. And if I'd been trading, I would have wanted to go long right here because what happens is sometimes you get a break during the early pre-hours that doesn't really count. So sometimes you might get, this might just be leg one and you might get another leg. But there's a couple of important points here. Notice we had the break and then we had the overshoot here. And generally an overshoot will, even if you don't get a break, will oftentimes lead to a reversal. So it didn't surprise me that even if we hadn't had this break, or even if you didn't count it, that we reversed here. Early on, I thought we just had a short-term trend down here, but it turns out once I got a little more price action, there's a bigger two-tiered channel, and you can see it clearly there. But anyway, there's a short right here, the first trade right around the 7 o'clock hour. It looks like that trade triggered just after 7 o'clock, and that was a great setup. But if you're paying attention, notice that even though it still worked and you got your scalp out of it, you can still consider this a failure when it went higher. It's not a great setup because you're really looking for prices to go short, to go lower, but it is that trap. That's what reversal patterns look like, or that's what short traps look like. We should have expected more down movement here, and we just didn't get it. So if you want to go long there, you can. It's a little bit aggressive, and you got to really be on your P's and Q's because you should have been looking for shorts in here. And then, of course, then you get the failed second entry short and a second entry long counting off this high. There's your two-legged correction. And look how the market's closing higher than it did here. You definitely want to go long there because you might get a whole nother leg that's equal to these two legs. So let me just show you what I'm talking about there because we've got a lot of new people. So that would have been leg one, and it started going higher again right there. So if we would have got two equal legs, that would have put us all the way up to around 2076. So if you catch one of these, you can ride it all the way. So that's what you want to be looking for. So I hope that's clear on what I mean by the measured leg there. But yeah, that turned out it was still a good trade. Didn't get what I was hoping we'd get out of it, but it didn't matter because we got so many great trades all day long here. And one thing I want to clarify, because I'm getting a lot of these questions before I move forward here. People are asking me about trades, and people are still, it's amazing that I get people that are still too busy looking to try to pick the bottoms down here. On this trend down, you do not want to buy long until you get a confirmed trend back to the upside. And you really don't even get one here. This is actually a long right here. That I forgot to change the color on yet. So before I forget, let's change the color on that. And sorry to interrupt what I was talking about. But anyway, what you're expecting here on this channel is that you're expecting prices to go from one side to the next. And so once we reach the low side, you're looking for prices to go higher. So you're not going to sell again until we get up here and get a setup, or we get some kind of trap like right here. We got a trap, so you want to go short. And then you get your next leg down, which since the midline held, we're expecting prices to come down here. But look how it overshot right there, and then it overshot about an equal distance down here. That's telling you that you're probably reading it properly. But you don't want to start buying on this downtrend until you get a confirmed trend up, and you got one right here. And even this one, I really probably should have it green, but we did have a break up here, and we do have an overshoot down here. So a lot of times that leads to reversal, but it didn't. But there's a trap there, and we're not back to the high side. So, and there's plenty of room. So, and this is looking rangy kind of by this time. So I'm okay with going along there. But anyway, we need to back up here. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. We tried to make a new high, and we just get a double top basically here. And you could actually almost treat this like a failed break higher because most of your touches are right across here. And let me draw the line and show you what I'm talking about. That's where I would have that. My line's not right there. That's where I would have that drawn, right across there, maybe even right there. And you can see now that looks like a failed break higher, but I think you're taking a big chance. right there, because again, we're looking for 2 legs up, actually from right there, and you see we aren't quite there. So multiple ways we're coming up real short. And generally when you don't make a measured leg and it turns down, that tells you that prices are probably going to go a long way in the other direction instead of higher. So I don't know what I did there, but anyway, so you had to be real careful about trying to get short here yet. You really needed to wait until you got a trap or something. And then we just kind of went into this. Notice we're below the EMA here, but look how those bars are all stacked up. Prices are not really going anywhere. This is a little trading range. You got a failed break lower, you got a failed break higher, but you just need to stay out of that. And that's why I circled it in purple. Um, and you finally get a little breakout pullback short here. So I liked going short right there. And that's also a failed second entry long. Notice the new high pullback, first entry pullback, and it's like a second entry. There's really a failed second entry long right here based on the breaks. But if you really pay attention to this and you figure out the legs, there's like a leg down, a little double correction, and then another leg down. And we didn't have a measured one yet. And if you measure this leg, you can see that. And then so you would have been looking for it to go to right in here, and look where it went when till it bounced. So you got plenty of room right there, and you probably wouldn't have had this midline. You might have had this line in here, but you probably wouldn't have had this midline yet. There wasn't really a whole lot to confirm it down here on the low side yet until we got on down here. But I would have thrown it in there down here and just kind of been paying attention just in case. And that's how you find that stuff early. You get good enough at looking at it that you begin to anticipate where it's headed and what it's doing. And you got to be careful doing that. So again, I say that guarded. I guess I'm guarded about saying that because I don't want to give people the wrong, because people hear what they want to hear and they take it and they run with it, and then it fails on them and they start contacting me saying, hey, you said this and it didn't, and this happened. But that's not really what I said. People misunderstand me a lot. So, and sometimes that's probably my fault. I'm not saying it's necessarily your fault, but it's the way I say things, and I mean one thing, but it gets interpreted a different way, and maybe I wasn't clear about it. So, but anyway, you're looking for a measure leg down, and so you don't want to enter this until you get a little breakout pullback short or something. And plus, you got two. You're looking for the measured leg down, and you got that little breakout pullback short, and it's also close enough to a failed second entry long that you can go there, and that turned out to be a nice little trade, and it bounces exactly where you expect it to bounce. And it's really tempting to go short here, but you don't have a very good setup bar, and you don't get a good setup bar to here. And that is such a big bar. Somebody else asked me that today. That's another thing that I'd like to discuss. Probably hadn't talked about it in a while. Is that you got to follow the rules. So if you can't get in this, if you enter this here, guess where your safety stop has to go? It has to be above the signal bar, which is this bar. Even though this might have been the bar that set up the trade, your safety stop has to go above that bar. So if you put your safety stop up there where it has to go, guess what? It takes more than 8 ticks or 2 points to get in this trade, and that breaks the rules. So you either got to skip this trade or you got to try to get in right here where you should have, or maybe a tick back with a limit order. And guess what? That would have eventually gotten filled. Look, it comes back. And notice how if you'd have had your stop 8 ticks back from where you entered here, you would have got stopped out. But putting it where it's supposed to go, you're still in this trade. Or coming back in with a limit order and just being patient and waiting on it to come back, you get another chance to enter. And look at that big bar right there. I mean, that's perfect. So that's why there's no trade there. You need a better entry than that. So then suddenly you get a nice bar here, and it didn't quite close on this low, but that's fairly bearish. And this is moving down, and you're looking for that. For prices to maybe come down here if you've spotted the double tier by this time. Even if you didn't, this is the first break and you're still looking for a new low. So you stay with the shorts if you get a good setup. And look at it go. This was a great trade. And then you get a two-legged correction. Uh, there was actually a second entry short right there, but it's not a very good signal bar. So just wait, and guess what? It gives you another chance right here, giving you a little second entry counting off the top, and you get that next measured move. So you got a break, and you get two legs down to a new low. There's actually a couple more legs in there than two legs, but if you look, there's your first leg. Oops. And so your next leg, you're looking for it to come down to about right here. And we couldn't get there, but guess why you couldn't get there? Um, Eventually you did. You went a little further, but you couldn't get there because the trend channel line is acting as support. And so that's why it didn't quite make it, but that's what you're looking for. And so ride this down to here. This is where I would have exited unless it just shoots right on through. As soon as I would have got a bar that's hesitating right there, I'm going to exit and look for another entry. But you could exit, or you could hang on until you made a higher high, which was here, and you would have gotten stopped out right in here somewhere. Um, so, and notice this, there's one move up, pull back, so second move up. So this is like a double top, a failed second entry long, and there's all kind of people trying to pick bottoms, and those are great traps to enter in. And then you bounce again, pull back first entry, and it fails. But I don't like that signal bar again, but once you got that bar right there, as soon as it breaks below that, drop your limit order back where it was supposed to go, where your stop should have went, and look, it pulls right back, fills it, and then takes off again. And there's actually a failed second entry long right there, so there's even a trap right there. I'm even going to mark that one. I didn't have it marked originally because it's close to that low, but there's enough room to scalp out before you get there. And because this came off the EMA, you're looking for prices to come back down here. And then it pulls back again and gives you a little double top right off the EMA. That's almost a repeat pattern of this right here. And we still aren't down to here. And look at it go, boom, and it shoots on through this time, an equal overshoot from up here. And then it reverses, and it's tempting. I'm going to tell you, it's very tempting to go long right there because you're way overdue. First of all, you got a short-term channel here. You got a break, two measured legs almost to a new low, and you're way away from the EMA, and you've had a big move down. It's time for a correction, but this is where people get burned. So don't buy here. Just wait until you either get a trap or it gets back up here and you get a sell set up. And guess what? It pulls back. And you get a first entry short. It pulls back. You get a second entry short. And you don't want to go short yet because you don't have a new high here on this little trend line. And you're not back to here yet. We're so close here that unless you get some kind of trap to the upside, you're probably coming up here. So I like that for a long. That's the only long you'll see this whole time until we get another reversal. But that's what a little reversal pattern looks like. We shot straight through the EMA. Look how it didn't hesitate there. It shot straight through. It pulls back, test it once, pulls back, test it twice. That's the two test rule. It tests the midline on this one twice. It's not a great signal bar, but you don't have to have one on a trap. And where does it go? Right back to the upper side where you would expect. And you get another close outside. It's not a real strong one, but you still get a close. And then look at that failed second entry long. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. That's a failed second entry long, and you want to go short right there. And you really could have gone short on this bar. And if you did, I would add on right here. There's really two different trades here. I'm going to go short right here. But once it hesitated, and then you get this next entry, I'm going to add on right there. And so that could be a double trade actually. And look at it go. And I mean, that's just straight down for how many points? 57 down to, there's 5 or 6 points there in just a couple of minutes. And with a double load and a couple of runners, you don't need but 1 or 2 or 3 trades like that a day to make some really good money. So keep that in mind. And then we bounce here, and notice there's a second entry short there, and we did overshoot this channel down here. It's not real clear that that's an overshoot. After the fact, it is, but when it's happening, it looks like an overshoot. It's hard to say. It may or may not be, so you got to be careful here. Um, but either way, there's a second entry short that you don't want to take there. So just sit tight, and you don't want to go long here. Even though this is a short trap and it's a failed second entry short, it looks more congestive, and we're working back to this trend line, the shorter term trend line. So sit tight, and guess what? You get all this little overlap, and you get a failed break higher and a big bearish reversal bar. Just go short right there, and off it goes. And I really thought this is where thinking comes in, and you gotta, you just gotta do what you're supposed to do. I really thought we'd shoot on down and make another leg just like this instantly. We ended up doing it, but we didn't get the other leg till right here. But this is like a little breakout pullback short because that is congested looking. And this is a failed breakout to the high side, then a failed break to the low side. And again, it's tempting to go long there because it looks like a trap, and it probably would have worked, but notice that trend line, there's no break of it. This is the break. So don't get tied up into going long here. Just sit tight, see what happens. So what? It may take off for 4 or 5 points, but that's smart traders are not going to get fooled into going into the wrong direction. And then you get your second entry short right here. Notice that new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. That's the first break of this channel. You're gonna expect a new low or retest attempt, and there it comes, and man, it goes. And again, you get, price action was just really on today, and you notice there's your one leg, and then you get a perfect measured move down on the second leg, and then it reverses. And where does it reverse? To the tick off of that lower trend channel. That's telling you you're reading it properly. And with more experience, and that's another question I get is, how do you do these trend lines? There's no substitute for experience. Watching this for hours and hours, for days and days, for weeks and weeks, months and months, and years and years. There's no substitute for that other than studying your charts. That's the closest substitute you got, is to study these charts. And there's thousands of charts you can go study every day. And I told somebody else, there's 2 or 3 reversals today, to the upside, to the downside, to the upside, to the downside. Study those reversal areas over and over until you see it. And it may take you a long time, but that's the only substitute for experience of sitting here in front of the screen watching it, is to study past charts, because there's nothing new under the sun. Prices do the same things over and over, and there's clues, there's little tails, there's all kind of things in there that tell you what's going to happen. No, it's not 100%, but it's 90-something%. It's enough that if you do the right thing every time, your winners are going to outnumber your losers by a long shot. And that's all you need. We only need a slight advantage. You need more than 51%, but it's not that hard to get more than 51% if you do the right things, and that's what people struggle with. But anyway, back to the chart lesson. Nice second entry short there. This was your first break. Another nice second entry short with another fairly bearish bar. There's actually a failed second entry long there, but we already had the break and a new low, so I didn't mark this one. But looking back on it, I don't know why I didn't mark it, or why I didn't. I think I was just afraid of the break and the new low, because in the overshoot here, I was afraid we might get a reversal, which it came soon, not long after. But that's why once you get down here and you've already met all your criteria, I usually start skipping these trades. Even though they might be good ones, you're better off to skip them, because all you need to happen is to get short on one of these and it reverse and take off on you. So, but looking back at this, I'm thinking that probably should have gone, I should have marked that one. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it. I'm going to make it green for the reasons that I just discussed. And if that didn't make sense, listen to it a couple of times, because there's some reasons to be a little bit concerned. You should have been getting short in all these, and then down here you need to start getting leery, because we've met the criteria for a possible reversal. And not only that, there's the break of the big channel and a new low, and that's probably why I was afraid of that one and didn't mark it. But I'm going to leave it. Um, I'm going to leave it as is. So, and this one here is actually a long. I forgot to change the color on. But notice this. Now we've got a break and two perfect measured legs down. We've got a break and pretty much another two measured legs down. So you're getting multiple. You're getting the same signal from multiple directions. And so I hope that makes sense, but you're getting it off of the shorter term channel. You're getting a reversal or a trend ending signal, and off the bigger two-tier channel, you're getting a trend ending signal. And so you're getting it from, if you can find multiple reasons that something's going to happen, that's just all the more reason that you're probably reading it right. So as tempting as it is to go short here, notice the trend line working up. There hadn't been a break of it yet. This was the first break of it. So when this broke and reversed, you got to figure we're coming up here. Take that long right there. And it took a minute to get going, but you could have ridden this all the way up. And then once we got up here, and now we had the break in the new high, I wasn't afraid to take this short right here. We had the new high, pull back. It's a first entry short, but I liked it because I really thought we'd push down one more time. It was an easy scalp. And this is real interesting right here. This is an interesting place. Let me show you something. And then we had a second entry long right there, but I didn't like that setup. On a second entry long, but because I was still thinking short. But if I'd have been just following the price action, I would have realized, and let me explain this. I'm going to back up a minute here because this is real important. This is some stuff that that you may miss or that may seem confusing, so I want to be precise in how I explain it. But you got this trend line coming up, and this channel held to the tick. You can see it right there. But you had your break and your two legs up to a new high, so you're looking for prices to go lower again. And when you get this setup right here, prices should have shot on down right there, or you should have got, especially when it broke higher right here, I honestly thought I had my sell stop sitting right here, expecting a failed second entry short. But when it broke higher instead, you should eventually, if you're thinking right and you're not locked into the short, if you're just following the price action, you suddenly realize, hey, that's a failed second entry short. Even though that worked right there, you can treat that like a failed second entry short, and there's enough room back to here in case it did hit. And you can see people realize it, and they caught people off guard. Look how it's gapped open right there. It closed on its high, opened on its low, and just kept on going. They were wearing out the stops right there. So you had to be aware of that, of jumping in there long. So that's where you want to go. You definitely want to go long. And so because that's what reversal patterns do. They trap people. Your reversal pattern was really right here, and this is just a second opportunity at one. They made it look like it was going to go lower, and look at that move. If you caught that one move, look at it going. These are all longs. I forgot to come back and change these colors. I apologize. Hopefully people, and I know there's some people that don't listen to the video and they just go look at the trades, and I try to warn people. You can't just go look at the trades because that's the lazy way to do it, and you're going to miss stuff, and you're going to get food because sometimes I forget to change the colors of the circles. I'll just use the same circles and then copy them and paste them, and then I'll change the color of them. Sometimes I forget. But anyway, this was a great trap right here, and look at that thing go. And there's actually a breakout pullback long right there from this stuff right here. It's a little bit risky right there, but it does bounce off this original trend line again. And if you carried this on up, it probably came into play right here as well. Let's just see. You can see it did. It definitely came back into play right there too. But we didn't really need it. So, um, but anyway, there's a trade there. It's a little bit, it's aggressive. So I marked it in green. But then guess what? You make a new high, pull back first entry, pull back another second entry right off that new trend line. It comes right off that low and those closes. And look at it bouncing and look how it closes inside it. That's a great second entry long on a reversal that's probably going to run stops for a little while. And then you make a new high and you get your first break here. But guess what? It bounces again off that line as we discussed, and it's right near the EMA, but it's a second entry long. It's a new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's not a great signal bar, but on a move that big, you're probably going to get another shot at this high. You don't know this is going to go like this, but you figure you're going to test this high and look at it go. And look how this thing did right here. It closed on its high, opened on its low, but it did pull back and fill that little gap, and it took off. And this is interesting here. It closed on its high, but then it opened one tick lower. So that's kind of odd there. You don't see that very often, but the market was really volatile at this point. And this is what a reversal. You get that new high, you pull back, you get a slightly higher high, and then you get a lower high. And then when it shoots right through, look how it goes right through the EMA, and then you get a second entry short right there. That's a great setup. And this one is aggressive, guys. Sell here because we did make a lower high and a lower low and a lower high, and you had that little trap right here where it looked like it was going to go higher, and then it tries to go higher again. So, and there's plenty of room back to the EMA. So an aggressive guy is probably going to go short there. Notice the break and the new high. Even if we were going to make another leg up, it's probably going to come back to the EMA. We're way overdue. And look how it shoots right through. Then it comes back and tests it and then pushes on down. And then you get a new low, first entry, pull back second entry. And that's even though it looks kind of like a doji, it could have closed down as easy as it did up on that last tick and been a real bearish kind of reversal type bar. So I like that one for a short. And man, you could have ridden this all the way down till well into the 2 o'clock hour. And this was the first bar that closed outside, and you could have exited right there. And look at all the points you could have got off that last late trade up there. And I didn't mark anything after that because that got us into the 2 o'clock hour, but there's still setups here all day long. I mean, I love this volatility. It's a little scary for newer traders, but this is what you live for as a price action trader, is days like this. And but study, look at the reversals in this day. We reversed up here. We reversed down here. We reversed up here. Again here. Then we reversed down there. So there's several reversals today. And this is just a big range day in the end. If you back way out, you can see that it's just a range day with the lows down here and the highs up here. It's a big range, don't get me wrong, but it's still a range day. We didn't trend consistently in any one direction. We ended up ranging within a 20-point or so range there. So, and that's the thing that people forget, that there's trends within a range, because you see them all here in the big range. There's ranges like here within the trend here, and there's a couple more in there. There's a little bit of a range right in there. I call these congestion. A congestion area is just a small range. It's the same thing. It's just only a few bars instead of a big area of bars. That's the only real difference. So, but really good day, and this has been a long chart lesson, but it was a good learning day. So I hope you learned something today. Hope you had a good trading day. Remember, don't try to buy these kind of moves until you get to traps and reversal patterns, and you can see there's a couple of buys in there when you got them. And then don't try to sell these until you get the reversal pattern and the confirmed trend in the other way. If you just wait, if you're trading this, and you just wait until you get a confirmed trend in the other direction before you buy, you're going to be okay. But if you start trying to pick bottoms and guess, you're going to be in trouble. Bottom line, if you start trying to sell this, you're going to get yourself in trouble. Because look, you can't afford to sell right here and then have a move like that go against you. Or to sell, or worse, sell like here and have the move go against you, get stopped out, and then see it go exactly. That's what usually happens, and ends up going right where you thought it was going to go. And I got an email saying just that very thing. I think the guy was trying to sell down here, or he tried to buy down here, and he ended up getting stopped out only to watch prices go way up here, and he could have made a lot of money. But he's just buying it. He's trying to buy bottoms and sell tops, and it doesn't work. Especially when the market's trending this well. And even though it's not a great trend day, there's still some great trends within this range today. So stay on, stay with the trend and don't buck it. And then when it does reverse, don't fight it. Listen to what it's telling you. So great day. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you learned something today. And we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.